I feel very bratty.
Snow White is the girl you remember, but she's definitely made for the modern age, and there's such an emphasis on what it really means to be the fairest of them all.
Something that kind of emerged was this leader within her that I was so happy the writers wanted her to be, and the fact that it's born out of her upbringing, but she finds it within herself.
For Snow White, it's coming to terms with finding herself and finding her inner voice, and finding a sense of agency so that she can be a just ruler and a wonderful queen.
Mark Webb and I kind of called it her third eye opening. And there's like a couple of scenes in there where she's speaking like someone who's been alive for much longer than she has. And that's something that I relate to, something that I've been told all my life.
Why are you the way that you are?
Disney is scrambling to salvage what it can as the release of its live-action Snow White inches closer. With just 2 weeks to go, the outlook isn't promising. Box office projections continue to sink, and the film is now tracking even worse. Then Captain America: Brave New World, a movie already expected to struggle. Back in early February, reports suggested Snow White was on track for a $65 million opening weekend. However, the latest projections have plummeted further, now ranging between $48 million and $58 million, a financial disaster in the making for Disney. With a staggering $212 million production budget, these numbers spell trouble for the studio. As Disney braces for impact, its final marketing push is in full swing. But the studio's first major move has raised eyebrows. According to reports, Disney has scrapped plans for a UK premiere, allegedly to avoid anti-woke backlash surrounding the film. Typically, a blockbuster of this scale would get a grand premiere at London's Leicester Square, filled with lights, cameras, and fanfare. Instead, Disney has opted for a low-key approach, replacing the premiere with a handful of tightly controlled press events. Rather than engaging in open Q&A sessions, these carefully curated interviews appear designed to minimize controversial discussions, especially regarding Rachel Zegler, whose past comments about the film have already sparked significant backlash. With so much riding on Snow White, can Disney turn things around, or is the damage already done? As box office projections continue to fall, the decision to avoid public scrutiny may only fuel further speculation about the film's troubled release. One thing is certain, all eyes will be on Disney when Snow White hits theaters. Get so she probably won't even be able to further manage the controversy surrounding Snow White. Disney appears to be limiting Rachel Zegler's exposure to tough questions. Reports suggest that journalists attending press events will be required to stick to a list of pre-approved questions, with Zegler herself given scripted responses to avoid further backlash. We've already seen a glimpse of this strategy in a recent article featuring Zegler's comments. Speaking with Vogue Mexico, she addressed the ongoing criticism surrounding both her casting and past statements about the original animated film. In an attempt to reframe the backlash, Zegler stated, "I interpret people's feelings about the film as their passion for Snow White, and what an honor to be part of something that people are so passionate about. We're not always going to have the same feelings as everyone around us, and all we can do is our best." While this response was meant to downplay the controversy, it backfired, as critics were quick to point out her contradictory stance. Just a few months ago, in an interview with Variety, Zegler had taken a very different approach, blaming the backlash on sexism and misogyny, stating, "With Zegler's shifting responses and Disney's tightly controlled press strategy, the studio is clearly trying to contain the damage ahead of the film's release." However, the question remains, will audiences buy into this approach, or has the controversy already sealed the film's fate?
When it got announced, it was a huge thing that was like trending on Twitter for days because all of the people were angry. And so it was like very much this, yes, it was this
people
awakening
that we need to educate, the people that we need to love into awareness.
Love them in the right direction.
Rachel Zegler's recent interview didn't go as planned, but it gave us a preview of the scripted responses she'll likely use in upcoming press events. With Snow White already facing box office trouble, Disney can't afford any more missteps, which raises the question, many speculate that avoiding tough press questions is part of Disney's damage control strategy, especially given the ongoing rumors of a feud between Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot. While nothing has been officially confirmed, the speculation only adds to the chaos surrounding the film. With just 2 weeks until release, all eyes are on Disney. Will this controlled approach save Snow White, Or is the film already doomed?
What does that mean?
You two clearly get along and respect and
I
love
have
each other.
no idea what you're talking about.
Hater.
Disney is desperately trying to stop the financial bleeding from Snow White, a film already expected to lose millions. The latest decision to cancel the London premiere follows months of controversy, much of which centers around actress Rachel Zegler, a figure many critics have labeled a walking PR disaster for Disney ever since Zegler was cast. As Snow White, she has made one divisive statement after another, criticizing the original story, dismissing the classic romance, and making remarks that many found entitled and insufferable. Her attitude has alienated not only general audiences, but even Disney's own fan base, many of whom oppose the drastic changes made to this live-action adaptation. Among the critics is David Hand, the son of one of the original Snow White animators. He has publicly condemned Disney's modern take on the story, stating that both his father and Walt Disney himself would be turning in their graves. He emphasized that the 1937 classic was created with good taste, unlike the current remake, which has sparked outrage for its creative liberties. With Disney already set to take a financial hit, the question remains, can the studio salvage anything from this disastrous release, or is Snow White destined to be one of Disney's biggest flops?
She's definitely made for the modern age.
You won't believe what we did.
At this point, it's not just casual moviegoers rejecting Snow White, even die-hard Disney fans are turning against it. Regardless of their reasons, one thing is clear. This movie has united audiences in their opposition. Disney is pushing the narrative that this remake is a faithful adaptation of the 1937 classic, emphasizing its iconography as proof. But the Backlash tells a different story. A recent promotional video tried to sell the film as a true to the original adaptation, but the audience response exposed the reality. Despite 190,000 views, the video has been downvoted 24,000 times, with only 3.9K likes. That's a massive rejection of Disney's marketing claims. Fans can see right through the deception, and no amount of PR spin is convincing them otherwise. At this point, the question isn't whether Snow White will flop, it's how badly it will fail.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Something that kind of emerged was this leader within her that I was so happy the writers wanted her to be. It's born out of her upbringing, but she finds it within herself. Mark Webb and I kind of called it her third eye opening.
Weird.
The numbers don't lie. Nobody wants this movie. A Snow White trailer released just 2 weeks ago has racked up 2.9 million views. But the audience response is overwhelmingly negative. That's not just bad, it's a complete rejection of the film. Part of the backlash stems from Rachel Zegler herself, who has been widely criticized for her disrespectful attitude toward the role. Instead of embracing the legacy of the 1937 classic, she publicly dismissed it, even at D23, a Disney event. She mocked the original film, called The Prince a Stalker, and acted as if Snow White was outdated and irrelevant. But what she failed to realize is that without the 1937 Snow White, the movie that put Walt Disney on the map, none of Disney's future successes would exist. With the film already tracking for a disastrous box office performance, Disney's mishandling of both the movie and its lead actress may have sealed Snow White's fate before it even hits theaters.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because, we cast a guy in the movie. It's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
Disney knows this movie is in trouble, and their latest move proves it. With Snow White tracking for a box office disaster, Disney has canceled its London red carpet premiere. The reason? Speculation is running wild. Or is it just another desperate cost-cutting measure as Disney braces for a financial disaster? A movie that lost its audience before release. The Backlash